Go for it.
Welcome back, guys, to DFH Locker Room. It's a different format now. We're doing small topics, small chunks. I'm back here with WavePunk once again. And we talked about crates last episode. This episode, we're actually going to talk about some of these players, some of these pro players. So the first two big roster moves, besides Team Iris, I would say, because Team Iris locked it up pretty early on. But it was NRG and Northern Gaming picking up two outstanding players. Northern Gaming grabbing Devo from Mocket and NRG grabbing Garrett. WavePunk, what's the better roster move? It's hard to compare because it's two different regions, but what do you think is the better roster move?
I think I would definitely go with Northern Gaming on this one. I think Devo showed up so huge. I mean, you just want to talk about just general success. Devo was in the grand finals. Devo beat Flipside to get to those said grand finals, and was just an amazing player. It was actually fun, like it being in the crowd for those grand finals. It was such a Flipside heavy crowd. Like everyone wanted Flipside to win, but every once in a while we'd hear some Devo chants as well. Just Devo, never Violent Panda, never Pashy, just Devo, because Devo was on fire. He was incredible. And you want to talk about better roster move, a big part of it is how much are you upgrading him. Mystic is a fantastic player, but I think when you're comparing Mystic to Sad Jr. at this point, Sad Jr. fantastic, has been on a top level team for forever. This is kind of Mystic's first time of really being in kind of a top 3 level team, and I think Devo is definitely a better pickup for Northern, or more of an upgrade over Mystic than Sad Jr. was over Garrett was over Sad Jr. Yeah. See,
I think it even helps that it actually made the competition worse in Europe. Like their main competition was Mocket for that number 2 spot, and you take arguably their best player, and that really catapults you ahead of Mocket now. And Mocket's been scrambling to find a new teammate. They had what's his name, Freaky for a little while, and then Freaky decided to leave as well. So they've been trying out some players here or there too, but that really downgrades Mocket and keeps that gap much larger now for the top 2 in Europe. We'll see how it goes because it's been 3 months, so we never know. But with Flipside and Northern Gaming now on top with Devo over there versus Mocket, well, on these same point of North America, Garrett, he wasn't on a team. So it was just a pickup. Like Orbit disbanded, and they were the most competition for NRG, but they disbanded anyway. So it wasn't as much of them trying to get a bigger gap over some other team. They picked up the number 1 free agent, though. Yeah, I would say out of all the players there was. Now we'll see how this works out. So far, the NRG hasn't had the greatest results. Northern Gaming, I haven't seen them actually a lot. So far, I haven't focused on Europe a ton yet. Like I haven't done my homework yet on them, but I haven't seen them playing a ton yet. And that comes down to like, now are they way too comfortable? Because these two rosters kind of set up. It was probably like a month and a half ago. While everyone else is scrambling to impress their peers to make the best possible team for the RLCS. So these guys aren't practicing as much or are not competing in as many tournaments as these other guys. Is that going to hurt them come like RLCS season time?
Yeah, and it's hard to talk about NA right now because there are so many free agents and so many like really high level players that still haven't solidified to a team. And while NRG is a very well established roster that's been around, was one of the longest standing rosters, and now they're picking up Garrett, who's definitely arguably an upgrade. And NRG, like shout out to them. I feel like they are setting the bar right now for like organization interaction with their players in Rocket League. Like no one, I'm seeing them like sending their players to interviews and like making gifs out of their Jacob or whatever, and I'm like even during the off season they're still participating with their Rocket League team, and it's awesome to see. So I feel like even just for that, like Garrett's made a great move going over to them. But
and they even went to the White House too.
That was crazy.
December. So yeah, shout outs to NRG. They're actually, because most of these orgs are not really putting a lot of attention behind Rocket League. Flipside Tactics did put out a video about like the behind the scenes of Flipside throughout the LAN, so they've been doing a little bit here as well. Northern Gaming really hasn't done much. At the same time, their players are not as marketable because they don't stream, so it might be a little bit harder to do, but still, shout outs to NRG and Flipside for that.
Yeah, they've been doing a great job. But on this, so it's hard to talk about about the North American scene right now, because there are so many high-level players who haven't solidified into a roster, and I think it's just going to be kind of just a big just shootout of all these teams that we don't really know what's going to happen. But on the north side of Europe, it has been less rosters splitting and reforming and more shuffling, more player trading kind of going on. And I think it's interesting because you brought up that Northern Gaming kind of takes away Ace's strongest player and probably solidifies themselves in that second place spot. But at the same time, we've seen Pashy for 2 seasons now pick up completely new players and get so far with them. The way he's able to build, the way he builds a team is incredible. No one was talking about Devo and Violet Panda before this, and then they're number 2 in the world as they make it into the finals. So I can never count out Pashy with who he picks up. It is interesting that he has had so much trouble finding a player who wants to be on the runner-up team, and I don't know if that's because he's been difficult to work with. He's definitely a dynamic character that does not mesh well with everybody. We've seen that throughout 2 seasons of RLCS now, but whoever he ends up with they are going to be on a wild ride as he carries his teams far all the time.
Yeah, he's had a history of just throwing players away and stuff like that, which is hard for like a player coming in as that third string, because they'll definitely be the third string. Pashy and Violet and Panda have been together for a while, but so it's hard to play that role when you're like, I don't know how long I'll be here, but once the RLCS rosters are locked, they're definitely going to be there for the run at least, which is nice compared to RLCS Season 1 where there was a Qualifier 1 and Qualifier 2 and you can make roster moves between, and that really hurt those like third-string players, like probably the worst player on the team, because some of them just got kicked when they just had like a third-place finish. So so it's better now for those rosters going forward, but yeah, maybe it is just hard to play with Pashy, or he expects a lot, and but at the same time, he picks really good teammates. Like you said, like no one was talking about Violent Panda, no one was talking about Devo at all. And then Devo's like one of the best players like in the world now. Violent Panda was phenomenal come playoffs and then LAN. So clutch, he had like 4 or 5 overtime goals at the LAN alone. Yeah. So he was coming up clutch here, and so who knows? Because it's been 3 months. Like, this is the longest break we've had. And these teams are going to be fighting for these spots, like brand new teams, basically, because we just don't know. Like, a lot of people think that Flipside is still the favorite, but we've seen the new Market squad with KDOP, Fairy Peak, and Mystic. They've been performing really, really well. And then in North America, with NRG, they haven't been competing all that well. It's been G2 and Iris mostly putting on a show. They've been playing a little bit better lately, but it could have been because they just weren't practicing a lot, because they were also trying to hide the fact that they got Garrett. So they didn't play in any tournaments. Like, they knew that they were getting Garrett, but they didn't play in any tournaments because they didn't want the like announcement to leak. It's kind of like the opposite of what G2's doing right now, where it's just completely like Crow is just trying out everyone to see what the team is, and everyone knows now it's JNaps and Rizzo. Yeah. And they just haven't officially announced it. Like, it won't be a surprise compared to the Garrett announcement, but it's better for them to actually be competing and practicing. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And it's I hope for, just to talk about G2 for a bit, I really hope that JNaps is able to be there. Both Kronovi and Rizzo have full RLCS experience, have LAN experience. JNaps came just so close in Season 2 with Selfless and the former Momentum guys, that they were so good. Clearly great players, but can they actually pull off? Can they get through the nerves and make it into RLCS? And I really do hope for G2's sake and for Kronovi's sake and just for our sake. It's great for viewership when Kronovi and G2 are doing well, right? I think Rizzo is an awesome pick. My question about that team will be JNaps and how does he perform on the day.
See, with Rizzo, I actually didn't like him last season, like, at all. Like, so I shouldn't say that. That's relative to, like, the hype around him. Like, I just didn't think he was playing as well as maybe even we were hyping him up. Because Take 3, their stats were awful throughout the entire season. They squeaked in, and hey, that's all you need to do. But then at LAN, he showed up a lot, and he's been streaming like crazy, playing a lot, and he's been improving a ton. So I think it's a great move for Crow. And JNaps, he's been a phenomenal player from the Selfless days. And I remember we were playing like Rumble, and I haven't, like, it was the first time I played with JNaps. I played with a lot of the pros here or there, but not a ton. But it was the first time I played with JNaps, and he just impressed me like crazy. Just the shots he was taking in the air, I was like, oh, this guy is going to be on the top team very soon. I just didn't realize it was going to be G2 this quickly. Right. But Selfless also, when they didn't make it through qualifiers, they were arguably like a top 2 team in North America. They just had a bad day. So, and a lot of that was because of JNaps. So. But like at the same time, it's been during this offseason the G2 sweepstakes, it seems like, for North America, where besides Garrett going to NRG, everyone probably has G2 as their first choice because it's a like well-established org. They'll probably get a salary to go along with it, like once it's official. So everyone wanted to play with Kronovi, and he's the most popular player, so it's just going to increase your popularity. And then it's just been who's going to be on G2, but everyone's trying to impress everyone except for teams like NRG, Northern Gaming, and Flipside, because they know their rosters and they are very talented. But at the same time, if they get too lazy, then these other teams can catch up extremely quickly. And I think this season is going to be pretty interesting to see if these guys can stay up top, because like NRG was up top for the longest time. Northern Gaming and Flipside have been on top of Europe all last year as well. So we'll see if that changes. And I think some of these teams might fall back a bit and be like, maybe we should have practiced a little bit more during these 3 months off.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be so rough for North America because just for exactly what you're talking about, there's so many players who don't have like fully built rosters around them yet. Players like Pluto, players like Turtle. Turtle's still in a situation where is even going to be able to play because he has some like SAT thing on the qualifiers. But like players like Moses as well, and it's like they're struggling to find teams to build around them. And we're getting down to where they're going to build the team and they're going to sign up and then they're going to be in the qualifier and they're not going to have played for longer than 2 weeks together, where teams like NRG and G2 or whatever have been playing the full 3 months, as their new roster. And so they really do need to like get solidified now and get to practicing, because the longer they wait to find a full roster, it's going to be less about which players you have and more just about you haven't played with them ever,
Yeah, I think players might be a little cautious because there's been a lot of like last-second roster moves, and I think a lot of these teams probably have solidified. They just don't want to announce it yet because we've seen like Turtle, Matt, and Sizz playing for a little while together. I haven't caught up on like the last week's teams that have been showing up, but for the most part, it seems like these rosters are starting to form. Like Sad Junior, Darkfire, and Classics were playing together a lot, so maybe that's a team. So they probably will have some history together, but the one team that I thought was really smart was Team Iris. They came in, they picked up Torment like right away. It was basically Torment or Dapper. They were trying both of them out. And at the same time, like you can say it's really smart because they're building team chemistry, but at the same time, they might have been able to pick up a better player if they waited. And not saying Torment is a bad player, and he was probably their right choice because I think they need a more solid backline with the craziness between Latch and Squishy. But they've been playing so long together that every other team basically was trying out versus Team Iris for the longest time. Team Iris destroyed December. They'd won everything in December, and it was every single team was just a pickup team, and they're like, how well do we do against Team Iris? Let's see how well we do, and then, all right, we got smoked. Let's disband and try something else out. So it's weird because I think Team Iris is actually forming all these NA rosters in a way because they were the barometer for all these teams to figure out, like, are we good enough for RLCS? Can we compete with Team Iris at this point? And
they became the gatekeepers, the litmus test of, are we a pro level team? Can we hang with these guys? Because I mean, like it was literally like the season ended, LAN hadn't even happened yet. Lichinio leaves G2. Forms a new team, and while LAN is happening, is already practicing with these guys, basically. And so like they have been working hard, and I do think they're going to be, again, we were hyped up about momentum before season 2, and then Selfless, and then they didn't pan out. So like anything can happen in those qualifiers.
Because it's on one day,
if Iris makes it in though, they have a very, very good shot to make it all the way.
Yeah, like I think they're one of those teams. Like I was talking to Lawler a couple weeks ago during the I think it was Take the Shot. Monthly, and I said it was going to be Iris in the finals, and he was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, because like Iris is either the number 1 team in North America or the number 10 team in North America. It just depends on the day, and they can easily beat anyone, or they can just lose to random teams once in a while. So if they can clean that up, then they won't have to worry about it for qualifiers, and then sky's the limit for them, so we'll see how they do. But yeah, we got a little bit off topic. We talked a lot about the NA scene, but that's fine. But yeah, so there you have it, guys. NRG and Northern Gaming, basically the first 2 roster moves, the big ones, besides Team Iris, to happen. Do you guys think it was a good idea for them to maybe, for like, say, NRG to not play with Garrett for a little while, hide that secret? Or do you think they should have been practicing right away? There's been plenty of time, though, so there's been another 2 months since they've been together. So let us know what you guys think in the comments. I want to thank you, Wave, once again for another outstanding episode. WavePunk's the best. His hat is great, except he's wearing it the wrong way.
I mean, it says WavePunk this way.
It says WavePunk that way. But I guess that works because I can't wear a backwards hat. I look foolish.
That's right.
So, it works out.
We balance each other out.
Yeah. Thanks, Wave. And we'll see you guys next time.